All right, welcome to Gun Talk Nation. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Springfield Armory and by Lockdown. Secure your lifestyle. And don't forget to enter the current Gun Talk giveaway. Enter now through September 30th at guntalk.com/win for a chance to win the grand prize, the Lipsy's Guns limited edition Glock P80, a reproduction of Gaston Glock's first firearm. Designed in 1981 for the Austrian military, the limited edition P80 features original designs like non-railed frames, wraparound pebble grain texturing, which we actually liked. I was kind of surprised. The Gen 1 single pin frame, the original flat extractor, and the classic Tupperware style container. Grand prize winner also receives Lipsy's swag. I know, come on.
You combine them both, it's okay.
Crossbreed Holsters prize pack with Crossbreed Holsters Super Tuck and Accomplice mag carrier, classic gun belt. Enter to win at guntalk.com/win. Who doesn't want to win a gun, right?
Well, I do, but I think I'm excluded from the competition since we are hosting, which doesn't make me very happy.
We have a bunch
someone out there, someone lucky out there could be. It could. Hey, our next guest could actually win.
There's a bunch of people that are registered as Jevin Jarnagin.
Yeah.
At Gmail, yes. At Yahoo, at AOL.
How many of them are there? My stepbrother's stepsister.
That's right. So today on Gun Talk Nation, we have Matt Rice from Bushnell and all other brands inside the world of Vista. And Matt, welcome in, man.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on, man. Good to see you and hear from you.
So we've known Matt for a few years now.
A couple.
KJ and Matt, I don't know, maybe went through puberty together or something practically.
It seems like there's ages ago.
They came of age. Of age together.
Yeah, within the firearms industry and everything, I think that would have actually be accurate, as we both kind of came of age in this industry. And thank goodness I got to learn under him at Blue Heron Communications a long time ago.
You guys been doing the PR game for a long time. So, but Matt's with Vista. I feel like Vista is one of those things that, like, inside the industry, we know what Vista is, but maybe a lot of people who are gun enthusiasts don't know Vista.
I'd say that's a fair statement. You know, depending on, a company like Vista is a huge company, as you mentioned, multiple brands, multiple locations spread out throughout the United States. So Vista Outdoor is probably a term that only a few people that are more ingrained or more within the industry are familiar with, but your listeners, viewers are going to know the names of Hoppies and Blackhawk and Bushnell and Uncle Mike's. Those are names that are going to resonate with them. So yeah, it is a little bit of kind of a hidden name, but again, the focus is on the brands, and it's good to see our leadership put a bunch of emphasis on supporting those. So hopefully you hear less about Vista and more about companies like Bushnell and Champion.
Yeah, I mean, because those are the brands that you've loved for decades or grew up with.
Right.
I mean, one of my favorite things. So I was just out in Arizona with Matt on a media event for Bushnell, and so they have kind of a goodie bag, swag bag of stuff from all these different brands. Blackhawk, you know where I'm going with this. Bushnell. And the most fun thing that was in there are the Hoppies air fresheners.
Did I get any of those? I didn't see one cross my desk yet. So
I think
just saying, Jace, my truck needs it.
Jace has that, maybe.
You're gonna have to ask the other two. I can send you some, KJ, but you'll have to talk to the other two. They were funny getting passed around, so there should be a couple extras. But yeah,
all right, I'll hold them to that.
What kind of a simple, brilliant idea. I mean, that smell of Hoppies is something that's ingrained in all of us. If you're a firearms hunter, howbeit, and that smell of solvents and gun cleaning just brings back a lot of memories. For myself, it does. And,
absolutely.
How you can portable, put it in your gym bag, put it in your truck, wherever you need that bright, crisp smell of Hoppies.
Well, what would be funny is, before you go anywhere, that's almost like your cologne. You just take it out and you rub down it. Now there's another idea for you. Hoppy's number 9 cologne.
Oh,
so because you're gonna know the gun guys, because they're gonna walk by you and they're gonna kind of sniff and Oh, Hoppy's number 9, huh? That's like the new Chanel.
Well, have you ever heard? I probably should have queued this up. Well, maybe we'll pause it right here in the middle of the podcast and play this spot. Maybe, but so we actually did that on Gun Talk Radio. We had this guy Bill who does professional voiceover work and for like big brands, big huge political campaigns, and he's very creative. And he did a Hoppy's spot that was not a spot. He just made it up, and it was what was she wearing? Was it Chanel number 5? No, it was Hoppy's number 9.
I remember hearing that one. Yeah.
I'll let you hear it. Then it hit me like both barrels of a 500 Nitro Express.
Yeah.
She's wearing Hoppy's number 9.
I think we got to convert the women users to use it because that's an ultimate attractor to the males. I'm not sure the male on male thing is going to be quite sell so well. So we can make it a little bit more female friendly. I think we have a winner there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what we were doing out in Arizona was messing around with some new Bushnell red dots. Matt, let's talk about it.
Yeah, no, it was a great week by all accounts, including my own POV. Fantastic time. I mean, anytime you get to go to Gunsite and spend a week, I can't think of too many worse places to have to go. I mean, it is really kind of the mecca of training in firearms. And every time I've been out there, regardless of who's been instructing, regardless of who I've been with, it's always been a stellar time. So I was very happy to be back. It had been a long time for myself personally to get to go back, but. The headliner of the event was 2 Bushnell red dots that, man, I'm excited about these products. You guys have been in the industry a long time. Sometimes products get announced and doesn't kind of have that fanfare, that enthusiasm. But these 2 products, I am excited, especially about the one. It just, man, I think it's a home run. And
Stop
I think it's really
bearing the lead. Let's get to the product name and let's go through it. You're killing me here.
So for new to Bushnell, the RXS-250 and the RXS-100. So 2 new red dots that are built out to be a multiple use case scenario. So it's not quite built to be a competition dot, but you can. I recently competed in the USPSA Free State sectional match here in Kansas and used the 250. I did not feel that I was under equipment. My own personal flaws were enough that kept me low in the standings, but the optic was great. So,
well, I mean, Matt, we had your pro shooters out there. We had Jesse and KC, which are top pro shooters, and KC kept going on. He's like, man, this dot is really good. I would definitely compete with this.
Yeah, and KC is actually going to be shooting the U.S. Steel Championship with it coming up. So
wow.
He's actually been using our First Strike 2.0, him and Jesse both, but he's really liking this dot. So he's going to make the transfer over. Jesse said she's going to stick with the FS2. But so, yeah, big things. Casey's he's a lot of fun to watch. Just so smooth, so quick, and both great ambassadors. And we're very lucky to have them on the team. So to have them out there giving that kind of high-level instruction, showing you just what a red dot can do once you've had those rounds down range, it was very impressive.
Now, this was a pistol dedicated class that you guys went through. You and I didn't get the invite. Just saying. But this was so what are some of the details on this optic that guys can look forward to? What's the footprint of this, and which footprint is it going to be more like?
Yeah, so regardless of which option you pick, the 100, kind of our entry-level price point, or go up to the 250, they're going to share some similarities. First, they both offer a 4 MOA red dot. It's very crisp, even on the highest setting. Doesn't get any of that bloom, so you've got a nice solid dot for whatever the application is. The second thing for you pistol shooters out there, it's going to fit on the Delta Point Pro mounting plate. So for any of those optics-ready pistols, I think by our tally, there's probably over 33 different firearms that will accept that plate. Everything from your Glocks to your M&P cores, the list goes on and on. Simple attachment, 2 screws on the plate, and you're off and running. If you're not going to run it on a pistol, we do offer it with the high-rise mounting plate. So it's a quick Picatinny adjustment. So throw it on a shotgun, throw it on a PCC, your home defense rifle, you're off and running. And then those are the shared similarities. And then as you move up into the 250, we offer you a few extra bells and whistles than in the 100.
Yeah, and let me say, so we were doing 3 days on the range with Gunsite, with running these. We were running them on Glock 17s, and I will tell you this. And if Matt says it'll sound like a bunch of PR man spin, but we had 12 or 14 people or so running these guns for 3 days. We did about, I asked the guys how many rounds we went through. It was about 8,000 or 9,000 rounds of ammo.
9,000. Yeah, 9,000
Okay.
rounds.
Nice.
We did not have a dot go down one time. Not one time. And I mean, a listener might go, well, yeah, they shouldn't go down. But the thing is, what you got to understand about media events is that a lot of times these are pre-prototype, or they're there's a little bit of R&D. Like you almost understand if there are a couple issues that we're working out, because it's a great testing bed to have, a dozen shooters who are avid shooters go through this stuff. But the fact that there were no issues at all, that was great.
Well, and I think what a lot of listeners don't understand either is, the normal guy, I hope they're all going in and getting training, and this type of training, this type of high round count training, drill specific. But most guys aren't going to be doing that type of stuff with their red dots.
Right. They're not going to shoot that much. Sure.
They're not going to. And so I think it's great that you have events like that. And it's even, I'm not surprised when stuff goes down on media events. I'm not. And a lot of times you won't hear us talk about it. But Matt, we've been there. We've been putting on media events when not everything really works out the way we like it to. That's why they bring a lot of backups.
Well, and sometimes it's not even like there's a real problem, but sometimes it's like the engineer is there, which it's good when the engineer is there, and they go, yeah, we're working out this. We actually had a supplier issue on this particular part or some weird thing, right? But the dots ran, and having 3 days running red dots on pistols and kind of workshopping that with the Gunsite guys of the way they've been training it and looking at what seems to work, what doesn't, and how to get people up and running, because we know that red dots on pistols can be really helpful if you're used to it. Most of us aren't used to it. We don't have as many rounds as the competitive shooters, because that's really where it started out.
Yeah, I think you guys both hit on some good points there. No, we don't ever expect anything to go down at that point once we're that far in production. But again, we were subjecting it to some things that you just can't simulate in a test environment. We recoil everything. We IPX7 things. We waterproof. We shockproof. We can test some of those things, but until they're out in the field, hitting some of those different variables and getting abused and used, sometimes you might overlook something, that somebody else does differently.
True.
And I think one of the big impressions that I walked away with is that we had a lot of different lighting conditions. We had bright Arizona sunlight. We were inside shoot houses. We were going through little washes, what they call kind of their simulators or their scramblers. We were kind of going over natural terrain, in and out of canyons, and you're shooting. So, and then we were shooting from 8 a.m. till sometimes almost 4 p.m. So throughout the day, you had variable light conditions, and everybody was getting that good, clear sight picture. And that's something that we really strive for on the 250, is to offer you a multi-coated optic, but really kind of reduce that bluish hue. If you look through a lot of red dots, you're going to see some distortion, some discolorization. It's not going to look kind of true to life. And what we wanted to do was offer a red dot in that 250 class range that is going to give you that perfect hue whenever you're using it. And with 10 brightness settings on the 250, you can tone it up or down to your eyesight and to your needs. And I know not all of us were running it on the same setting throughout the week. I think I probably had mine on a 5 or 6 when I went into the shoot house. I might have turned it up just a little bit, but we were all kind of customizing it a little bit to our own particular eyesight. And that's one of those things that's nice to have a red dot that offers you that user interface where you can adjust it to your own personal preference. So I was really excited that not only did it hold up, and which I knew it would, but the lighting conditions, nobody said, I got a sun dot, or it's a burst, or I'm catching a tracer, through there. Everybody complimented how easy and clean it looked all week long.
So just because I wasn't there, what were you guys' key takeaways from the training specifically to the red dot? Not necessarily how the red dot performed, but did you have any key takeaways when going through all the instruction?
I I certainly did. One of the big things that they talked about was for anybody who hasn't, who's maybe been shooting iron sights for a while, you have to reprogram your mindset over when you start shooting a red dot. Now, if you've only started with red dots, you've definitely got an advantage. But we're so used to finding that front sight, getting that sight alignment, press, trigger control, reset, and fire again. When you come up with a red dot, it's not always there where you think it's going to be. So one of the big takeaways that I think everybody appreciated was your draw stroke changes a little bit, especially when working out of a holster. If you're at the low ready, you can kind of manipulate it a little bit, but getting it up and out and higher to your face and to your line of sight and pushing that gun straight from that line of view made a huge difference, I think, in everybody and how quickly you were able to pick up that red dot.
Yeah, picking up the red dot, which is something that people will complain about when they first shoot with a red dot on a pistol. And what Matt said is instead of marrying your hands up and punching out to the target, as you marry your hands up, you actually bring them in front of your face, bringing the back of the gun in front of your face.
Right.
And then you start looking through the optic and you're seeing that red dot as you press out towards the target.
As you drive forward.
The way the Gunsite guys described it is you're getting on the dot sooner, not quicker.
Exactly.
Right.
I think a big time us as shooters is you find yourself kind of fighting a little bit, whether it's a long range rifle scope, whether it's how your head's positioned on the stock. And that was a big thing they preached all along. Is like, you're in control of that firearm. Move the gun to you, manipulate it where it's you. Don't be doing this with your head. Put it in line and get that line of sight. So that was a big takeaway. And then I really love, granted, we're offering you 5,000 hours of battery life in the 100 and 50,000 hours in the 250. I mean, that's
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to prevent that light from ever going out. But if it does, there were some interesting drills that I'd never done before that showed you how you can get on target and make hits without having that dot. Or the guns we had didn't have what we call suppressor ready sights. So they were a little bit lower. So it wasn't a true co-witness, which you can do through our optic. But with the particular setup we were using, you didn't have that advantage. So they taught us 3 different drills to work on. And a couple of them really worked well for me. One of them I was decent at, but it was kind of good to have in the back of your mind going, this is a fighting pistol and I need to fight with it. I can manipulate it in any situation.
And another thing they talked about was, again, going back to the whole, if you're used to looking at that front sight and then you kind of see the target, but you're doing the opposite with this, basically. You're looking at the target and let the dot appear. Because if you're looking at the dot and you're bouncing your eyesight to the target and back and forth, that's slower. That's not really taking full advantage of the dot. So they did some drills with that. You could actually tape up the back or the front of the optic, depending on which thing you're working on, to kind of practice. Just look at the target. Don't look at the dot. Let the dot just appear, and then you're pressing the trigger, which I thought that was great.
That's interesting.
I didn't really like when they put blue tape over my optic, but once you kind of saw what they were driving at, you're like, hey, I can do this. But at first you were just like, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah,
I can't.
Yeah. Why are you covering up my optic, dude?
So Matt, we, with the other optics that Bushnell offers, we had talked about like was it the oleophobic coating?
So we do offer a hydrophobic and oleophobic coating in our exo barrier. These don't have that exo barrier coating on them.
Okay.
But they are IPX7 rated. So, they are going to handle that 1 meter submerged for 30 minutes. They're going to handle some of the dust and some of the higher that you have several levels of IX, ratings, from 4 to 7. So while we're not offering that particular coating on the lens, our exo barrier, they do offer that proven reliability and what then all of these red dots are backed up by our ironclad warranty, which gives you a 5-year warranty on all of our electro optics. So, if there's any defects in manufacture or if you break it, we're going to be able to work with you on that repair. So, but when you look at these 2 dots, if I can find somebody out there who's going to break that 250, I might owe them a beverage of their choice. The thing looks like a tank.
Yeah, it's really rugged.
It is.
It's not so robust that to me, it was ugly or distracted from the firearm. I credit our engineers for building a design that's allow us to pursue some patents on that particular style that really make it different than other optics in the industry. And, we've been doing drop testing on it. There's a lot of dots that aren't drop tested proof, that they'll fail. And we had a couple of media that were out there that put it through the test. I mean, they were not only just using, the optic as a slide rack, which we all do, but I mean, they were dropping it. They were hammering it off a barricade, intentionally trying to break it, which, can always be a little bit hesitant, but
I was going to ask if you were cringing about every time they were going like, oh,
well, so one of the guys
buddy.
Yeah, one of the guys on this, Jeremy, is LAPD. And so if you want to really torture test your product, you give it to a law enforcement guy or a military guy, because they just, I don't know, they're issued things and none of it has value, and they just crush it. And that's what they do. So Jeremy said, okay, you said you drop tested it, right, Matt? And Matt's going, yeah. He's like, okay, cool. So I'm going to take this unloaded gun and I'm going to drop it. It's mounted onto this Glock, onto a cinder block. I'm going to try to make sure it hits on the optic. Wham! From, 5 feet up from his head.
Yeah.
So he does that, and then he does the racking it on a barricade thing, and then he loads it up and shoots it. It held 0. I was impressed.
Wow.
Because when you do that, you go, I don't know what it's going to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing about the testing, and a lot of drop testing is different. I mean, not only does the sight integrity of itself need, but it needs to retain at 0.
Right.
What good is not if it's lit? It's not going to be anywhere near your initial point of 0. So those are 2 big takeaways on that end. But I'd have been a little bit nervous had I not seen our engineering team and product managers do that before. But it's a great dot in that 250. But for those who are looking for a little bit more of an entry level price point and don't want under $100, then that RX-100 is the way to go. It's not going to leave you wanting. Just not going to offer you that robustness and that durability.
Right.
But for an optic that's $100 or less, at the store, that's pretty cool.
What's the RXS-250 running? What price?
Right now, 250. We try to make it simple at Bushnell. So RXS-100, $100 price point. RXS-250.
Man, I love that.
So
why can't more people do that?
So let me tell on Matt. So one of the things we got to do was we got to be attacked by a robot. So at Gunsite, they've got a remote control robot. It's got these huge tires, and they have a target on it, bad guy target. Yeah. And so it'll move around. It could chase you, and when it faces you, then you can kind of engage it or whatever. So they get us all out there, and I think the first person went, and I think she did pretty good. She kind of just stood there and put her shots on target. And then the next guy goes, I think it was the LAPD guy, and he chased down this target and did the cop thing, which probably a different approach than what the armed citizen would approach it, but he did a good job. And then Matt gets up there, and nobody had really used verbal commands yet, but Matt said, I think he literally said "F that," and said, "I'm going to use verbal commands." So he used some forceful language with the robot to make him stop trying to hurt me.
Yeah,
and let him know.
Was it impressed?
Let him know he meant business, and I thought it was good. The instructor did say that was really good. He says, "I will tell you, I've never heard this before. Juries don't like cursing." What do you mean? He's like, well, as far as if there's cell phone video or whatever. Oh yeah. They don't they kind of, I don't know. I want to say a turn off, but that's not the right way to put it.
It's jarring to them.
They're like, ooh, then, he's cursing at him.
They have negative connotations, and most people nowadays are soft.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that. There's the cupcake, snowflake cupcakes. But I mean, who wouldn't curse if there was a bad guy chasing you down with a gun?
I mean, the prosecutor is going to keep people on there that are good, God-fearing, church-going, those guys. They want them on the jury because he cussed.
I was happy with my witnesses in that particular incident. There were 10 plus people that were watching. They heard me say stop several times before I gave what Jeremy calls more tactile language. And then my language to him kind of stepped up, and then when it kept charging and didn't put down the gun, then, started dumping rounds on the target. But
that was great. It was great.
One of the great things about Gunsite is they'll reenact that with you. I mean, shooting paper targets is fun, but when you're trying to simulate a a deadly confrontation or what could turn deadly, your voice can be it can escalate things and it can de-escalate things. So it was kind of the point that you brought out.
It was great. And I will tell on myself. So I saw Matt do that, and I had a few more people go, and a couple of them said a couple things verbal command wise, but I'm thinking I'm definitely going to give verbal commands. I'm going to try to treat this like a real situation. I know it's the robot target, but I'm going to try to treat it like a real situation. I'm definitely going to give verbal commands. I was totally silent. It's like in the middle of it, because I'm thinking, I just need to make good shots. I need to make good shots. Yeah. And as I'm in the middle of it, I'm thinking, why am I being so quiet?
Say something.
Say something. Say something. And I'm just going bang, 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 bang. So I don't know.
But when it turns, it goes to show you like what like that type of training can do for you. I mean, it gets your mind thinking and your mind goes there, because how many times, does that happen where you're like, oh yeah, I would react this way. We do this every Monday morning.
Yeah.
We Monday morning quarterback the week before, and we say, well, this is what I would have done in the situation. And until you're given some kind of stimulus that recreates that, you don't know what you're going to do. You don't know if you'll freeze up. We've had guys on first person defender, and we see it time and time again. They're all super trained up, and they're quiet as church mice.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, why'd you shoot him? I don't know. Like, what? What do you mean you don't know? You got to be able to articulate that.
Yeah.
So it all kind of goes back to how you're trained. And, just like the red dots themselves, if you practice with them and become proficient with them, then it's another, arsenal, another feather, arrow in your quiver that you can use. And you're going to fall back on that. We all fall back on how we train and how we practice and what goes through our head. So, it's helpful in those type of scenarios. And I really believe a red dot is kind of still the way of the future. We're seeing more law enforcement operations allow those for duty or issue those for duty. We're definitely see a check in military move that way, private citizens. But, I've had the ability to train some people from a female perspective or a first shooter perspective. And there's nothing better to get a red dot in their hands and let them kind of focus on trigger manipulation and sight alignment. Yeah. But as an instructor, you can certainly help pick up what they're doing wrong by watching that red dot. So they're a great tool. And then when you go up to the highest level and put it in the hands of somebody like Casey or Jesse, watch out.
Right. Yeah.
It levels up quick.
And I'll say this one more thing about this before we head out is the Gunsite instructors have been teaching red dot specific classes for a little while now. And one of the things they're seeing with hundreds of students coming through is students being able to make longer shots with a pistol. I mean, one of the little kind of nature trail washes that we did, I made shots very consistently, 25 and 45 yards. One of the guys stepped out and saw the bad guy target 60 yards. First shot, boom, bing. And he says, we're getting less misses and more first shot hits with red dots than we ever get with the irons. And also people just being able to hit stuff at that distance because you have just a finer aiming point.
Yeah, the confidence, your confidence walking away after shooting a red dot for 3 days. I came back home and going, okay, I could add a red dot to that, or table gun needs not this, but your confidence and just your ability definitely elevates with a red dot. So
it's a game
changer.
We're
super excited about these. I think they're going to be phenomenal once we get more out there in their hands, and excited about all the feedback we got because we had a good diverse group of testers. Everybody from a LAPD current officer down to people that were just looking at it from a competition standpoint. So they saw everything that dot had to offer, and they all walked away happy. I can't ask for more than that.
Yeah, it worked great. Yeah. So the RXS-250, the RXS-100 from Bushnell, new red dots.
Yeah, go check them out. I mean, I think you guys are going to fall in love with them. You got 8 brightness settings on the 100. You got 10 brightness settings on the 250. It does work with some of the night vision on the 250. So if that's something you're interested in and want to run that extra deal, they all have a very simple battery compartment. You do not have to take the optic off to get to that battery.
Yeah, that's nice.
5,000 hours, 50,000 hours.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But having that point source LED that gives you that nice crisp dot without that bluish hue and keeps that dot. That's the other big thing. Usually when people turn up the intensity on dots, they start kind of starbursting. And
They
you don't
do.
need to risk aiming point because, as you pointed out, Ryan, when you're aiming at 50 or 60 yards, you're aiming with a little bit different point of that dot than you
Right.
are at 3 or 7 yards. So it makes a difference having a nice crisp dot to work with. So
Yeah.
well, glad you liked it. I had a lot of fun. I mean, who doesn't at Gunsite? Good to.
And I tell you what, after 3
Exactly.
days, because I mean, I haven't shot a ton with red dots and pistols. After 3 days, I was very comfortable with it. So people who go, I'm not sure if I could get used to it. You know, if you spend, it's a big ass right now with ammo being, you know, non-existent, but spend 500 or 1,000 rounds at the range and practice some of this stuff, and you can get very comfortable very quickly and probably be better than you are with your irons.
Well, and I think you'll even see that coming up here. You know, I think you guys are joining us on another adventure pretty shortly, and we plan to take this red dot out and showcase it to a bunch of long-range precision shooters. So,
Yeah.
guys who aren't used to and gals who aren't used to shooting red dots, we have Casey and Jesse back out there with us. So it'll be interesting to see how they transition from a high magnified scope to a red dot, and I'm sure the consensus will be the same. They'll be very impressed with their ability and have a dot. So another
That'll be
interesting
exciting
to see how that works out.
Yeah.
Matt, thanks for being with us today, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. Always a pleasure. Look forward to doing some more stuff with you guys this year, and hunting season. So we'll get something else planned on the book.
Absolutely. Bushnell, you know them, you love them, and they have new red dots. Check them out. Thanks for listening. That's it for us, Gun Talk Nation.